Tim Means vs. Loreno Staropoli is a welterweight bout. Tim Means has achieved a record of 29 wins, 12 losses, and 1 draw. Loreno Staropoli has achieved a record of 9 wins, 2 losses. Alright, so Tim Means is actually 36 years old right now, and Loreno Staropoli is only 27. Alright, so Loreno Staropoli actually went 7-1 before he actually joined a major MMA promotion, and once he joined the UFC in 2018, he ended up winning 2 unanimous decision wins over Hector Aldana and Thiago Alves. But after those first 2 wins, he ended up fighting a top 25 welterweight in Muslim Salikov, but ended up losing that fight by unanimous decision. Alright, now let's take a look at his opponent, Tim Means. Alright, so Tim Means is just a straight UFC veteran, as he's been fighting there since 2012, and so far has had 20 fights with the promotion. Now, his record inside the UFC is 11-9, and it was against pretty good competition, including guys like Jorge Masvidal, Neil Magny, Matt Brown, Alex Oliveira, Bilal Muhammad, Sergio Moraes, Nico Price, and Thiago Alves. But out of all those guys that I just mentioned, he actually only beaten one of them in Thiago Alves, who is another veteran fighter. Alright, so I do think that Tim Means is a very good fighter. He was a very good fighter. He still is. But once he fights someone in the top 25 or top 30, he just can't seem to win. And this guy, Loreno Staropoli, he's just so much younger, and he seems like he is a top 25, top 30 fighter. He's just not ranked there yet. But he has experience to compete with someone like Tim Means. So I think Loreno Staropoli is going to have a good time and win this fight by unanimous decision. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or have something to say, make sure to put in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like, subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss the absolute best MMA content out there. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Kevin Holland vs. Joaquin Buckley is a middleweight bout. Kevin Holland has achieved a record of 17 wins, 5 losses. Joaquin Buckley has achieved a record of 10 wins, 2 losses. Alright, so Joaquin Buckley is actually making a debut in this fight, and he's fought about a week ago. Alright, so Joaquin Buckley ended up winning his first 6 pro fights, 3 by decision and 3 by KO. And after that impressive start to his career, he ended up fighting Jackie Gosch, but he ended up getting KO'd inside of the first round. Now, after his first loss ever, he fought Justin Patterson and Vincius de Jesus, and he actually ended up beating both of them by decision. Now, after those 2 wins, he fought Chris Harris and ended up winning that fight by first round KO. And in his next fight, it was a rematch against Jackie Gosch, who actually previously beat him by KO, but this time he had it much better as he ended up getting the KO victory in the second round. Alright, now, let's take a look at his opponent, Kevin Holland. So, Kevin Holland was actually supposed to fight Trevin Giles last week, but due to Trevin Giles fainting minutes before the fight was supposed to start, the fight was canceled. Alright, so Kevin Holland technically has 7 fights with this promotion, if you're counting the fight on Dana White's Contender Series. But after he won that fight inside of the Contender Series, he actually fought someone he just should not have been fighting, in Thiago Santos, and he ended up losing that by decision. Now, after that loss against a former light heavyweight title challenger, he ended up going on a 3-fight win streak over John Phillips by rear naked choke in the 3rd round, Gerald Meerschaert by decision, and Alessio Di Chirico by decision. Now, after that impressive streak, he fought the young talent in Brendan Allen, but he ended up losing that fight by rear naked choke in the 2nd round. But since that fight, he actually has not lost since, and in his most recent fight against Anthony Hernandez, he actually ended up winning by TKO in less than 40 seconds of the 1st round. Alright, so for my prediction for the Trevin Giles-Kevin Holland fight, I had Kevin Holland winning that fight, and seeing as this fight is sort of a step down for Holland, against someone in their debut, I think that Holland will have a good time in this fight and easily get the win by KO in the second round. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or have something to say, make sure to put it in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like, subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss the absolute best MMA content out there. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Nasrahakapuras versus Alex Munoz is a lightweight bout. Nasrahakapuras has achieved a record of 11 wins, 3 losses. Alex Munoz has achieved a record of 6 wins with absolutely no losses. Alright, so Alex Munoz is an undefeated fighter, and in his first 2 fights, he achieved 2 first-round KOs, followed by a first-round submission. And after those 3 wins, he got a unanimous decision win, which granted him a spot on Dana White's Contender Series against Nick Newell. And in the fight, he ended up winning the fight by unanimous decision. Now, usually Dana White will choose 2, maybe 3 out of the 5 winners, but he's only supposed to pick 1. But Alex Munoz just didn't impress Dana enough, and he just wasn't granted a UFC contract. Now, after that win, he was 5-0, and he decided to have one more fight outside of UFC, and he ended up winning by unanimous decision. Alright, now, let's take a look at his opponent, Nasrahakapuras. Alright, so Nasrahakapuras was 8-1 outside of the UFC, and he was actually on an 8-fight win streak when he was granted a spot inside of the UFC's roster. Now, once he got inside the UFC, he ended up losing his first fight to Marcin Held by unanimous decision. Now, after his first loss inside the UFC, he went on a 3-fight win streak over Mark Diakese by unanimous decision, Thibaut Gouti by unanimous decision, and Joaquim Silva by KO in the second round. After those 3 wins in a row inside of the UFC, he fought the 14th best lightweight in the world in Drew Dober, but he ended up getting KO'd in 1 minute, 10 seconds of the very first round. Alright, so Nasrahakapuras is actually the 28th best lightweight in the world, while Alex Munoz is only ranked 145th. Alright, so although Alex is an undefeated fighter, he's not really fought anyone good, and he's much younger. Alex is 30 years old, Nasra is 23 years old right now, and, Alex Munoz only has 6 fights on his resume at 30 years old. That leads to my decision. I think that Nasrahakapuras is going to get the win by unanimous decision. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or have something to say, make sure to put in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like, subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss the absolute best MMA content out there. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Andrew Sanchez versus Wellington Turman is a middleweight bout. Andrew Sanchez has achieved a record of 11 wins, 5 losses. Wellington Turman has achieved a record of 16 wins, 3 losses. Alright, so Wellington Turman is actually ranked 39th at middleweight in the world, and Andrew Sanchez is ranked 36th in the world at middleweight. Alright, so Wellington Turman started his pro career with 8 straight wins, but after that impressive streak, he fought John Sakara and ended up losing that fight by unanimous decision. Now, after his first loss, he ended up winning 3 straight fights by first-round KO, first-round submission, and a decision win. Now, after those 3 wins, he was 11-1, but he ended up losing to Carlton Harris by unanimous decision. Now, after that second loss, he actually ended up going on a 4-fight win streak, 2 of which were by decision, and 2 of which were by submission. Now, after those 4 wins, the UFC actually gave him a fight against Carl Robertson, which he ended up losing by split decision. Now, after that loss, the UFC gave him one more fight against Marcus Perez, where he won very impressively by unanimous decision. Alright, now, let's take a look at his opponent, Andrew Sanchez. Andrew Sanchez had his first fight in the UFC in 2016 in the Ultimate Fighter Season 23, where he won by unanimous decision against Khalil Roundtree. Now, after that first win, he got another fight in the UFC against Trevor Smith, which he won by unanimous decision. Now, after those 2 wins, he ended up fighting the 6th best light heavyweight in the world and former light heavyweight title challenger, Anthony Smith, but ended up losing from a head kick KO in the end of the 3rd round. After his first loss inside the UFC, he had another fight inside of the Ultimate Fighter, where he ended up losing by KO in the 3rd round. Now, after those 2 losses in a row, he ended up getting 2 unanimous decision wins in a row over Marcus Perez and Marc-Andre Barrios. Now, after those 2 wins, he fought the 15th best middleweight in the world in Marvin Vettori, but ended up losing by unanimous decision. Alright, so Andrew Sanchez may have a worse record, but he has 7 fights in the UFC, while Wellington Turman only has 2. Now, even though Sanchez has more fights in the UFC, doesn't mean he's better, because he is 32 years old, while Wellington is just 24 years old. Now, I think in this fight, Wellington Turman is probably just going to go for takedowns the whole fight, and he's going to use that, plus his ground and pound, to get the win by unanimous decision. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or have something to say, make sure to put in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like, subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss the absolute best MMA content out there. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Justin James versus Gavin Tucker is a featherweight bout. Justin James has achieved a record of 16 wins, 4 losses. Gavin Tucker has achieved a record of 11 wins, 1 loss. Alright, so Justin James is actually moving down from lightweight, where he was ranked 71st, and Gavin Tucker has been a featherweight and is ranked 76th. Alright, so Gavin Tucker was actually 9-0 before he joined the UFC, and when he joined, he ended up getting a unanimous decision win over Sam Sicilian, but after that first UFC win, he fought Rick Glenn, who was a top 50 featherweight in the world, and ended up losing by unanimous decision. Now, after his first loss inside of the UFC, and ever, he faced Young Woo Choi and ended up getting the win by rear naked choke in the 3rd round. Alright, now, let's take a look at his opponent, Justin James. Alright, so Justin James actually started off his pro career with a record of 15-4, with his 4 losses coming against guys that aren't even ranked, and all of his wins except for his most recent fight coming against guys that are just plain terrible, some with 0 wins and some with just huge losing records. Now, he does have one notable fight, and that was in his last one against Frank Camacho, who he beat by KO in less than 45 seconds of the very first round. Now, even though Justin beat Frank Camacho, who was ranked higher than Gavin Tucker, we didn't really get to see much of anything in that fight but his power. But seeing as Gavin Tucker has never been knocked out in a fight, I don't really think Justin's power will do all that much to help him get the win, because Gavin has won basically all of his fights, and he's faced 3 guys in the UFC. So, that leads to my decision. I think that Gavin Tucker is going to get the win by unanimous decision. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or have something to say, make sure to put in the comment section below, and I'll make sure back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like, subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss the absolute best MMA content out there. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Youssef Zalal versus Peter Barrett is a featherweight bout. Youssef Zalal has achieved a record of 9 wins, 2 losses. Peter Barrett has achieved a record of 11 wins, 3 losses. Alright, so Peter Barrett was supposed to fight Steve Garcia, but Garcia ended up pulling out of the fight, with Youssef Zalal stepping in on short notice. Now, the odds for this fight, if Garcia did not withdraw, were 84% going towards Garcia, so we'll see what happens in this replacement fight. Alright, so Peter Barrett went 10-3 in some smaller known MMA promotions, which granted him a shot on Dana White's Contender Series. Now, in his Contender Series fight, he faced Sang-hoon Yo, who was previously undefeated, but he ruined that streak as he won the fight by unanimous decision, granting him a shot inside of the UFC. Alright, now let's take a look at his opponent, Youssef Zalal. Alright, so Youssef Zalal started his pro career with 6 straight wins, 5 that were by submission, and 1 that was by KO. Now, after that impressive streak, he ended up fighting Jose Marisol and Matt Jones back-to-back, but ended up losing to both of them by split and unanimous decision. Now, after those 2 losses, he was 6-2, but he actually hasn't lost since, as he's beaten Jamie Hernandez by flying knee, which actually impressed the UFC as they gave him a fight against Austin Lingo. Now, in that fight, Youssef was just dominating and ended up getting the win by unanimous decision. Now, after his first win inside the UFC, he fought a top 100 featherweight in the world in Jordan Griffin and ended up getting the win by unanimous decision. Alright, so in this fight, I expect Youssef Zalal to do what he did in the fight against Austin Lingo and just keep on taking down Peter Brett over and over and over again, get ground and pound. And with that being said, I expect him to get the win by unanimous decision. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or have something to say, make sure to put in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to react to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like, subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss the absolute best MMA content out there. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Aaliyah vs Rivera is a bantamweight bout. Aaliyah has achieved a record of 8 wins, 3 losses. Rivera has achieved a record of 9 wins, 5 losses. Alright, so Rivera started his pro career with 4 straight wins, 2 that were by first round KO, and 2 that were by decision. Now, after those 4 straight wins, he fought Steven Patterson, who is actually ranked 89th at featherweight, but ended up losing that fight by decision. Now, after his first loss, he fought Jose Ceja and ended up winning that fight at the last second with a rear naked choke victory. Now, after that win, since he won that last fight super close to the end of the fight, he had a rematch with Jose, but this time it was a lot different as he lost that time by first round KO. After that loss, he fought an LFA beast in Kevin Natividad, but ended up losing that fight by unanimous decision. Now, after those 2 losses, he fought Chino Duran and ended up winning by unanimous decision. Now, after that win, he fought Edir Terry, but ended up getting his leg kick in just over a minute of the first round, and he had to pull out, giving him another loss. But I wouldn't really say that counts as a loss because his leg got hurt in the fight. Now, after that unfortunate loss, he went on a 3-fight win streak, all by KO, which ended up granting him a fight in the UFC against Giga Chikadze, who was actually ranked 46th at featherweight. But he ended up getting the loss by unanimous decision. Alright, now let's take a look at his opponent, Aaliyah Vs. Alright, so Aaliyah Vs actually ended up losing his first 2 pro fights by first round submission and unanimous decision. Now, after those 2 losses, he ended up winning 3 fights in a row, 1 by first round submission, 1 by first round KO, and 1 by unanimous decision. Now, after that, he was 3-2, but ended up hitting a roadblock in Yinabao and lost the fight by decision. Now, after his 3rd loss, he ended up winning 5 fights in a row, 3 by submission and 2 by decision. Alright, so, Aaliyah Vs, he just likes to use his submissions in his fights, but his fights have been against really low tier fighters, and I don't really think he'll have the same skill sets to beat Rivera as he did in the previous fights, because Rivera is a guy that's never been submitted in his pro career. Also, Rivera's striking is just so much more superior than Aaliyah Vs, and with that being said, I think that Rivera is going to get the win by unanimous decision. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or have something to say, make sure to put in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to react to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like, subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss the absolute best MMA content out there. It's been fun, but I'm out of here.